Believe it or not, I don't love work every day. There's so many challenges that you face when you're trying to grow a production company, and although the payoff is worthwhile, I think there's a long road of navigating through trial and error that does take its toll. And we still experience problems within our production company right now. And that's actually what I want to spend some time putting some light on today, is talking about what are the things that don't work well in our production company? What are the worst things that we face, whether that's on a day-to-day or a yearly basis? And what do those problems look like? Because we can sit here and provide you with tips all the time on like how to have success, but it's about navigating the problems at the same time and making sure that you don't fall into the same traps that we did. More importantly, in this video, I'm also going to talk to you about what the problems are and then what we're actively trying to do to overcome them. Perhaps we haven't overcome them yet, but that's actually what we're trying to achieve, because we want the smoothest sailing ship possible that it knows what direction it's going in as well. So to kick it off, I think one of the worst things right now for me has to be, and luckily this doesn't happen too often, but when there is a problem, whether that's an unhappy client, something happens within the business, you're receiving a legal threat, or something happens with a member of the team or whatever, you as the business owner, it stops with you. So you can be all things plain sailing, you're getting back on track, you're having the best time, and all of a sudden, bang, the crap hits the fan and you're the one that's having to deal with it. And the only thing that's helped me through this with time is two things. The first is that with experience, it does make those challenging moments easier to get through because you get better at dealing with them. They generally happen fewer times as well because you're hopefully doing a much better job and you've learned from previous mistakes, whether they're your fault or you're not, but you've learned how to kind of navigate through that. And the other is a saying that I absolutely love, and it's just, this too shall pass. And even though you might be finding it really difficult right now or for the next week or however long that period might last, it will pass. And with experience and doing this for a number of years, you really do learn that it's crap now. And yes, it needs attention and it needs time. And in reflection, that's actually quite a nice thing, is with that experience and you look back and you actually think, well, on reflection, this hardly ever happens to us now. And it used to happen more frequently. So you're kind of like, oh, look how much our business has grown in this period of time. So sometimes it gets difficult just before it gets good. And it's a good indication sometimes of growth as well. But you have to identify those challenges and see to overcome them. Often you don't know what those challenges are, and realistically there's not that much that I can do to change those moving forward. Expanding on a team is something that's going to help with that, having people in different areas and sectors to make sure we don't kind of drop the ball and we're doing what we should do. But as a business owner, that brings challenges with teams as well. But that's probably one of the worst things personally for me, is that everything can be going fine 1 second and the next second it is literally like, oh, wow, didn't see that coming. I think we've managed to get rid of a lot of problems. And again, don't get me wrong, there's going to be a lot more coming, I'm sure. I'm just sure of it. But I think initially, some struggles that I kind of wanted to put light on as well, because this does happen from time to time, is there's two things. Initially, working long hours. It does take a lot to run a production company, especially if you're at that growth stage. And there's no easy way around it. You just have to be dedicated to the end goal. You have to understand the reason why you're doing it, and you have to really put in the effort. People spend years just plodding along, not being able to grow to that next level because they're just quite simply taking shortcuts and not actually investing the time in that it needs. It just needs a lot of time, it needs some dedication, and it needs that consistency. That's going to kind of be the main thing to help. But the long hours certainly at the start can be difficult, but hopefully you're young enough to kind of push through that. When you start getting a bit older, it starts to take its toll a bit more. And I'm fortunate that I'm in a position now where, yes, I run multiple businesses, but if it's my son's birthday or we're doing something, I can take that off because I've built out a team. But that team hasn't just happened. We don't have people just wanting to work for us, and certainly there's a cost element there as well. So it's all about understanding that it's going to be difficult initially, lots of growth. Any kind of growth stage is going to be kind of hard, and it's going to take, an element of dedication. But that will get better with time, and that's certainly something for me that I've noticed. In line with that as well is kind of like the direction initially. Like, you think you know where you're going, whether that's starting a production company or just being freelance. Or sometimes people don't really think about it and they think, oh, just figure it out. The people who just figure it out generally just don't get anywhere, or they just don't get to anywhere near as good as they could have been, or find those right opportunities. Very few really just completely luck out, end up with their dream jobs, they get paid really well, and so on and so forth. But I don't really know anyone that's happened to without kind of having some kind of like funnel. And if you're just starting out, it's fine to not have that, but you should be thinking about that direction as time goes on. I think the position of kind of like small to intermediate, so maybe, anyone who's just starting, to people who have been going for like 3 to 5, 6 years trying to get to that next level, there are mentors out there such as myself, whether it's through our academy or personally through our boot camps and things like that are on hand to help you, people who are just a few steps ahead of perhaps where you want to be. We certainly haven't mastered it, but we can provide value and advice to those people through our platforms. But that's something that I don't particularly have. I don't have big production companies who want to mentor me to grow to be like them. We're very much kind of leading that change. And as a result, I have to look for mentors in other sectors. And sometimes it's about me educating what works in a creative way with them and just trying to find the right hybrid of person who can help guide us in some kind of direction. But that's something that we did towards the end of last year that was insanely helpful, was just a completely reposition of our business, a restructure, and understand, right, if we want to get to here, actually, we're miles off at the moment. So miles off in terms of the direction we're pointing as well. So we need to turn the ship towards that direction, and need to make sure that we're heading that way as well. And a mentor was really helpful to doing that. And I think that's a scary subject. It's something, I can really advocate for, but unless you've invested in yourself personally in terms of education, online learning, and all of those things, once you invest in yourself once, you're like, oh my God, yeah, this does really save a lot of time and effort and money and all the rest of it, which makes that journey easier. But until you make that first step, it's kind of quite a kind of a hard thing to do. It wasn't until I invested in a seminar, I paid a few £1,000s to attend, and I was really unsure if it was the right move, and I came away from there just so knowledgeable of what I needed to do in those next steps for the next 6 months to 12 months of my business. And the stuff I learned is still with me today, but because it's not transactional in terms of, you're purchasing this camera, here's your camera, here's the money, it's harder for people to make that investment. But that's certainly something that I think is difficult when you're starting out, but time will make that a lot easier too. So getting back on track, a really problematic thing for us, and probably a real worst thing in our business, is our actual work flow. So between us and our clients, it's fine. It works really, really well. They have constant communication. We look after them. We do the shoot. We turn it around. We finish it off. The part we're struggling with is we have our contracted clients, so we know we have that regular income, but then we're working on a lot of big projects, and those big projects are pulling our resources away, and then it's actually having the ability to kind of fit everyone in, and shoots cancel and they postpone and they move around, and our calendars are constantly shifting the whole time. And that makes it really difficult to know who's doing what, where the money's going, making sure, just keeping a grip on it as a business owner of the ship, and making sure everyone's getting paid. We're making the payments from clients paying us, and everything's being tracked, and we're delivering on deadlines, and all of these things becomes really stressful. So one of the things we're looking into at the moment, we haven't yet fully resolved, is a management software so we can track projects. It just needs to be the right fit for the creative industry as well. I know there's many out there, such as Asana and Monday.com and things like that. I just need to find what's the right fit for us and our clients, so we have a portal and we can see from strategy, all the way through to end of production. It's all there and all kind of together, uniformed, and we can keep track of everything that way. But that general inconsistency in terms of, we talk about the feast and famine. The only thing that's with us is, at least we don't dip below what we need to break even because we've got our regular content people. But the peaks and troughs are still there, and it's just a really busy some months, and it's just making sure we're on top of that to deliver the maximum value, quality, and service possible to our clients. And that leads really nicely onto not knowing if you're busy because you're busy or busy just because it's chaotic. So someone once said to me, Ross, you're always busy, but are you busy making money or are you busy not making money? And that really just made me think, and I often think of that, like, yeah, a lot of the time you're busy just not making money, and you might be doing things that are going to make you money, but it's understanding what are the most important tasks to do. And sometimes you can think you're really busy in your head just through the chaos. And one of the things that I do time and time again now is just to-do lists, bits of paper with to-do lists. I rank them so I know exactly what task needs to be done next, and that to-do list will change as the day goes on as well. And often you think, oh my God, I'm so busy, I've got so much to do. And I felt like this morning, actually, to be completely frank. I felt like this morning. I had so much to do, came in, did my list. There were like 3 things on it, and I was like, no, there must be more. My head is just going to explode. What's more? No, it was just 3 things. Just 3 things I had to do. They all had different, levels to them. They were going to take a few hours each to do, but it's just being busy because you're in chaos mode versus being busy because things are actually just generally busy. But you want it to be as smooth as it possibly can be. So yeah, I just make loads of to-do notes, to be honest with you. Bills are always going to be on the list because obviously who wants to pay bills? No one really. You want to run your production company with as few bills as possible and as maximum sales, but that accounts for a huge part of our business. We have huge amounts of outgoings, as you could imagine. And a big part of that is reinvestment into equipment. And actually that's something that we're not great at doing, and looking after our equipment and making sure things don't get broken, because we are often so busy with shoots and stuff. We kind of just throw our cameras here, there and everywhere, and then they pick up damage, and then we're like, oh, now we've got to pay a few grand to get that sorted. But yeah, that's something that every production company is going to have to keep continually reinvest in, whether that's investing in staff or equipment. And we're very sensible when it comes to equipment as well. We sometimes will buy secondhand because there's no real difference between the two, or it might be a budget thing or whatever it could be. And cameras as well. We're not, we have a level of camera that satisfies all of our clients, and if they need anything specific, we can hire that in. But we just rarely have those conversations because filmmakers can think, yep, you need the new Red 8K whatever, and the client doesn't care. It's going on Instagram at the end of the day. You need a good camera that shoots 4K. You need to know how to use it, and you need to know how to edit properly as well, and you'll get so much more from your cameras. Now, obviously, that's a slight tangent, talking about the worst things about the production company. It's those breakages and those investments happen at the times when you need them to happen least, where you're trying to kind of tighten up in certain areas, and then something breaks and you think, oh, damn, okay. And nothing's cheap when you get to this level as well. Everything's £1,000 or more, so it's, everything that breaks is very costly, and it always breaks at the worst time. But the only things we can do is just to take more time over looking after the kit, maintaining it, noticing problems early and fixing those problems. We don't have anything set in place for that at the moment, but hopefully we will do as time goes on. Probably now, after making this video, probably going to go ahead and do that as well. Now, there's of course lots of things that operate well in our business, but there's also a long list of things that don't operate well in our business. So if you've enjoyed this kind of transparent video, then let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear, and perhaps I can do more videos about these kind of things as well if it gets a good reception. With that said, something that cost me thousands and thousands of pounds in the early stages was just not knowing how to ask the right questions to businesses to maximize their budget and really get the best results. So take a look at this video. There's loads of value in there as well that's going to kind of dissect what the best 10 questions are that we use in our production company to maximize quality, maximize the client's budget, and basically deliver the best results for them possible.